Well, hi there, everybody. Good morning to meteorologist Travis Kleneski here on this Tuesday morning. A lot of leftover debris clouds that are gradually kind of clearing out this morning. We had some thunderstorms in the Panhandle last night, and they died out, but they left a lot of upper-level clouds kind of pushing through our area overnight, and they've been in the process of breaking up, clearing up. That's a trend that will continue this morning. Most of us are going to see quiet weather through at least 4 o'clock. In fact, I'll even back this up just a little bit. I know I have it at 5 there. Notice 3 o'clock, maybe a little bit up there in the Gordon area, but 4 o'clock, maybe storms are trying to fire up there. But again, let's go to 5 o'clock. So again, early on, individual cells, north central, northwestern areas, there is a cold front that's going to be up here to the northwest, right in here. Along with that, there's actually, and I'll try to draw it in as best I can. Hopefully it'll look okay. There's actually kind of a surface trough right about here. It should be in black, but I'm not going to be that detailed. Right there. So those two areas here, the cold front's most likely to see storms initially develop here, but there could be some isolated thunderstorms developing right in here as well. These are all going to be sliding southeastward. These are going to be sliding eastward here as we get through the evening hours here. So we'll play things out here on Futurecast here. And again, while initially supercell thunderstorms could produce some big hail, maybe an isolated tornado or two, this becomes a line or a couple of lines of storms. And I think this one will be a little bit weaker, this line coming out of the west, but the storm that's coming in out of the northwest, this complex or line of storms, this one could push out a lot of wind here. So I'm very concerned about damaging wind gusts with this exceeding 70 miles per hour, enough to do damage. You know, we had some damage last week, you know, the Grand Island area, the Prosser, Rosedale area had some damage as well. We may see this on a slightly more widespread scale than what we saw back late last week. So now we're pushing to 9 p.m. This is sundown. North Platte, you're probably prime time, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, right in there. Tri-Cities, we're probably still looking at all the activity northwest of us here. North central Nebraska, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Storms here. Lincoln, you're waiting a while yet. You're probably waiting until closer to midnight. So let's go to 11 p.m. Now, we're getting a good outflow boundary now here. And the farther away this outflow boundary gets from these storms, the weaker the storms will get. That said, I still think there could be a good push of wind. Locally heavy rainfall with this as well. So again, now we're in prime time. Tri-Cities, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock. Lincoln, probably still waiting. Later into the night, now we're talking 1 a.m., 2 a.m., weakening of the storms. Isolated severe weather a possibility, but weakening. By tomorrow morning, outside of something very isolated, I think most of our storms should be under severe weather threat levels, but there may be some isolated storms that try to stick around early tomorrow morning. Let's take you through tomorrow real quick here. There are going to be more clouds around, much cooler behind our front. Most of the areas will be dry, just a small chance of rain and thunderstorms in a few spots. There's going to be a lot of leftover outflow boundaries that may produce some isolated severe storms. But we're going to be looking especially towards the end of the day again and into tomorrow evening, as we could see another round of showers, thunderstorms, and potentially a little severe weather for our area. This model that I'm using only goes till about 1 a.m. But that gives you an idea of what we could see through Thursday morning at 1 a.m. All right, I'm going to go to my editor mode real quick because I want to show you two other models here real quick. I'm going to show my in-house one first, which is a little bit weaker, I guess. It's not as impressive. I'm going to go in and just show you that real quick here. All right, so I'll bring my camera back up and we'll play this. I'm going to go a little faster this time here, but again, today's pretty quiet. Here comes our cold front. Storms firing up late this afternoon, pushing southeast through the area tonight. Again, the focus is higher north of Interstate 80, but there still could be some activity farther south. And again, damage and wind gusts are probably your biggest threat with these storms. Notice it's not as widespread with my in-house forecast model compared to the other one I showed you, which was the HRRR model. Tomorrow, isolated activity, but things get going tomorrow night. This one's a little farther south than the HRR model. This one's focused more on northern Kansas and southeast Nebraska, and most of us may not see much. I'm a little iffy on this. This is why I didn't use my in-house model during the main weather today, because I don't trust it as much here today here. I'm going to show you one other model. That's the North American forecast model. So I'm going back into my editor mode real quick, and I'm going to switch out models. Doing my little click save thing, and we'll bring my camera back up on screen here. And this will give you an idea of another forecast model, which again is very aggressive up north. Not much until the end of the day. Again, we're watching our cold front right here. Surface trough, maybe some storms coming in out of Colorado. Again, strongest storms will be at the northern storms. Maybe a little weaker, but still some severe weather possible on our western storms. But again, a Boeing line of storms is not good because you're talking about a big push of wind here. Pushing, and this model really holds them together even through 11, 12 o'clock here into eastern Nebraska. Eventually maybe weaker later in the night into tomorrow morning. This clears things out a little quicker tomorrow. Most of the area tomorrow dry, then here comes another chance late in the day tomorrow and into tomorrow night. This model is not as aggressive. This one kind of matches my in-house model and keeps everything a little farther south over far southeastern areas here and keeps most of us dry. Models are kind of split right now on all this, so I don't want to go one way or another. Let's take a look at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for today. I've been kind of calling it an avocado warning because it kind of looks like an avocado a little bit here. All of us under at least some threat of severe storms across Nebraska and northern Kansas. Almost all of us under at least a slight risk of severe storms at level 2 out of 5. And then dead center in the middle of Nebraska, an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms. Basically, Grand Island, Kearney, to Elwood, northward, North Platte, you're on the western edge right in here. All modes of severe weather possible that would be really geared more towards the wind threat than anything. Again, early on with those storms late this afternoon, this evening, maybe an isolated tornado or two. Hail, 1.5 inches bigger or bigger in diameter, maybe golf ball size. So ping pong golf ball size hail, not out of the question. But again, the biggest threat will become that damaging wind gust threat, potentially over 70 mile per hour wind gusts, a possibility. This is the wind threat. Again, a dead center, that's why we have the enhanced risk there. You get those black dashed lines, that's where the 70 plus mile per hour winds are most likely. Hail, especially early on with these storms, large hail is a possibility. Not a big tornado threat, 2% chance from the Storm Prediction Center, especially the northern half of our area. An isolated tornado or two, especially early with those storms, not out of the question. And sometimes with those big outflow winds, you can get little kinks in that line of storms that can maybe produce brief spin-ups as well. So that's not out of the question. Tomorrow's threat is lower, but it's still a possibility. Most of us under a marginal threat except for far northern Nebraska. We're going to watch for those isolated storms here. Will they develop here or will they develop farther south? We'll see. A lot of what happens tomorrow depends on what happens today, because whatever outflow boundaries are left over from tonight's storms will impact how things develop tomorrow. It could also impact our temperatures. Most of us today, pretty warm out there, up into the 90s again, kind of hot. In fact, southwest areas, upper 90s to near 100. The only areas a little cooler today are up here to the northwest with our cold front approaching and moving in there. Let's take a closer look from the zone forecast. Mostly upper 80s and low 90s. These are going to be the areas with the first storms that develop later today, right up in here. These areas here to the northwest may be behind the storms, behind the cold front, and a little cooler around Gordon and Merriman. Southwest Nebraska, that's where the hottest temperatures will be. 99, Trenton, Bankelman, 98, McCook, maybe 100 in Atwood, Kansas, 95, Grant, Ogallala, 93, Elwood, Gothenburg, North Platte, 94, Holdridge, 98 degrees. Smith Center and Phillipsburg, 97 for Franklin and in Elma. Southeast Nebraska, low to mid 90s this afternoon. 97 later today in Red Cloud, Marysville, Kansas. 95 Crete, 93 Aurora, 92 degrees in Osceola as well as in Wahoo. Northeast Nebraska, upper 80s and lower 90s. 90 degrees in Pender and West Point. 89 Plainview, 90 degrees in Bartlett, 91 Albion, Greeley, 92 in Fullerton. So that's a look at today's forecast. Tonight we'll fall back into the upper 50s, 60s, maybe near 70 in southeast areas. Look at the cool down coming tomorrow. Massive cool down. 60s, 70s, and 80s with the warmest temperatures in the southeast. How far that cold front gets it will determine our thunderstorm chances. With this model showing the warmth so far south, this is where the best chance of storms would be. If it ends up slowing down and the warm front or the cold front's farther north here, and we're a little bit warmer in the Tri-Cities area, the North Platte, then maybe we have a better chance of rain and thunderstorms tomorrow evening. Thursday morning, we're down in the 50s and low 60s, a cool morning, relatively speaking anyway. And Thursday's kind of another coolish day out there. Very nice day, mild weather. I think most of the day looks dry, maybe a lingering shower early, but Low and mid 70s for the most part. A really nice day. Warmer temperatures out west, which will start to sneak eastward starting on Friday. We're looking at lower 60s for lows, low and mid 60s for lows on Thursday night and Friday morning. Friday starting to warm back up into the 80s and low 90s. We'll see a lot of this Friday into the weekend, and then the heat starts to build in next week here. Let's take a look at the extended outlook. Again, storms tonight in the Tri-Cities. Prime time severe weather, 9 through 1 a.m., 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. for the Tri-Cities. Maybe a little severe storms tomorrow. A lot of what happens tomorrow night depends on what happens tonight. Cooler the next couple of days. Warming up. Friday, Saturday, Sunday back into the mid-80s. More often on chance. After a break from the stormy weather, most of Thursday and most of Friday are dry. But Friday night, storms returning. And then we're mostly looking at nighttime chances over the weekend with small chances during the day. We start to heat back up Monday and beyond. It looks like next week is trending a little warmer. Back above average. Mostly in the low to mid 90s. North Platte, a lot of similarities between that and the Tri-Cities. I also want to mention both locations, both the Tri-Cities area for the KSMB viewing area and then the North Platte area for the KNOP viewing area, both under weather alert days for today from us. Here we put out a weather alert day due to the threat of severe storms this evening. Again, North Platte, prime time, I would say 7 to 10. 7 to 10 o'clock is your prime time for severe storms. After midnight, much lower chances. Another chance tomorrow evening. Cool weather the next couple of days, especially tomorrow with a lot more clouds and sun. Back into the upper 80s on Friday, mid 80s Saturday and Sunday. Off and on storm chances geared more towards the night with lesser chances or lower chances during the day. And then the warmth starts to build back in Monday and beyond here, so we're going to be back up into the 90s Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Not super hot, but they're a little bit above average, a little on the toasty side as the Climate Prediction Center is looking at above average temperatures for our area basically all of next week through the following week. So basically the 22nd through the 28th of July. So this is really taking us through the final part of July now. Going to be looking at some of the not hottest temperatures of the season, but we're looking at, this is typically the hottest time of the year. We'll be matching that here with above average temperatures. And probably not as much moisture once we get into next week. We still have chances, but the chances may be a little lower than what we're seeing the rest of this week and this upcoming weekend. Show you a couple of the models real quick. I'm going to show you the European model first. And here's our storms later today and tonight. Really gearing towards the northern half of the area for the best chance. Tomorrow night, notice again, it's southern Nebraska, southeast Nebraska, northern Kansas with the best chance. We'll dry out for a couple of days. Look towards Friday night into Saturday morning, kind of weird movement with the storms here. And then more mainly nighttime chances over the weekend. And then I think we'll start to dry out for a time next week. Yeah, not as good of chances for most of next week here. Until maybe the end of the week here. Let's look at the GFS model. We'll end it here. There's our storms coming tonight. And then another chance tomorrow. And this time it's focused more to the south and southeast. We'll dry out for a couple of days. Then we'll look towards Friday night. And then more chances Saturday night, Sunday night. And then next week, again, our chances do get a little bit lower, but the GFS is a little more aggressive than the European model was. So that looks like maybe a late week cold front late next week here. But that's a long ways out yet, so I'm not going to get into too many details that far out. So again, be weather aware. Take safety, seek shelter even under severe thunderstorm warnings, not just tornado warnings. With the type of weather we could be seeing tonight, severe thunderstorm warnings those kind of winds can still produce damage as well. We saw that late last week in places like Grand Island, for instance. So, but this could be slightly more widespread than what we saw last week. I do need to get going. I want to thank you all for watching on this Tuesday morning. I'll see you all again on Wednesday. Take care and God bless.